in the first video of the corner cabinet build, I salvaged, well, I cleaned up a bunch of old cypress boards that I had, and we resawed them and glued up a top, and then I made a template to go play with dimensions, and I reproduced the template in the same cypress material. I dropped a floor in it, and now we are ready to proceed with doors and drawers. So that's what's going to be in this video.
All right. Drawer fronts, I found 2 pieces wide enough. They'll have a style on each end. That's to match the cabinets I have in the house already. And the doors will have a 1 3/4 inch stiles and then rails top and bottom. So I'm going to be dealing with a bunch of little short pieces, which is fine with me. So I'm going to start ripping up all the rest of the scrap that was planed to 3/4 and see if I have enough. I have some more full thickness boards that I hadn't touched yet. Of course, I have some more in the attic that I could drag down. It'd be nice if I could finish this up with what I have down here. So let's rip these up into our stiles and rails and see if I have enough. So I think I have enough. Next step is to cut a square end, or 1 end square on each one of these sticks. And I'm going to use my Incro bevel gauge. It cuts a little more accurate than my old worn out miter saw. So start squaring them up and start thinking about what length to cut them on. Okay, so my stiles are cut to go from the bottom of here to the bottom of that piece of trim. When the door is finished, I'll probably trim it a little bit. So here's my 4 stiles. And if I shove them tight to this side, which I can't do with one hand, but I did it, and measured the remaining distance to over here, I get 19 1/8. So there's 2 doors, divide that in half, I get 9 9/16. But each rail is going to go into each stile 1/4 inch because it's going to have a dado or a mortise to let the panel in. So that adds a 1/2 inch to each side. So that's 10 1/16. So I'll cut them all 10 1/8. I can plane the edges of the doors down after they're made. So that's those. Over here, I was 1 short of the long one, so I'm actually gluing it up. I don't know why. I got some big ones over there I could cut, but it's so easy to glue up. So now I made a mistake here. You see a big crack? My intention was to get that a little closer, although it's probably perfect because the bottom will be up a little bit. But this is what happened, and it's done it to me before. Oh, I've done it to myself before. See this ruler? It starts at 0. This ruler doesn't start at 0. I've got 4 or 5 rulers, and some of them don't start at 0 and some of them do. So I measured with this one. It doesn't start at 0 by mistake, and I got just under 4 inches, but actually it should have been just over 4 inches. So my bad. Keeps me on my toes. Well, keeps me frustrated, but I think that one's going to be okay. Time to get out the scary tool. It's a 10-inch dado set. I'm going to use the outside blades and the thinnest inside blade I have. And if I stack them all up, it's going to cut right about 3/8 of an inch groove. I'll check it on a piece of scrap. So that'll be right down the middle of all the stiles and the rails, and that will be where the board insert goes, the panel itself. And we'll also make the joint between the rail and the stile. So I'm going to practice on some scrap, make sure this is what I want to do, and then go for it. So the dado set is on the saw. Now the 2 outside blades are not the same. You see these the teeth are ground opposite to get that corner clean. So you got to have the right blade on the right side, and then when you put the filler, you need to make sure that the teeth on the filler don't get in a bind with the teeth on the outside. You got to move them around until they fit together. Then the dado insert is plastic, and you cut your way through it so that you have a tight fit. But I've used this one a couple of times, so that's not exactly the way it's going to work. But I need to raise this until it's 1/4 inch deep, because that's how I got the length of my boards. I need a 1/4 inch deep joint.
So put the insert in place, and I clamped the back end of it with that board and the clamp, and I put the rip fence over the front of it. And I don't know why, but it just kind of wigs me out. I just picture this thing shooting across the room. But I gradually raised the blade to cut through the plastic insert to get the right aperture setting for this particular setup. It went without a hitch. It just creeps me out.
So now I'm going to set it to exactly 1/4 of an inch. Oops. I got to cut some more plastic. Okay, so that's too high. That's too low. A little more. A little more. Okay. That's the height I want. I'm going to lock this down. It has a locking nut in the middle.
With the blade height set, then I set the fence to get the groove in the middle of the board, and I marked all the boards on one side, because even though you try to get the fence in the middle, it may not be exactly, and you can get accumulated errors. So if you keep all the boards facing the same direction, they'll all fit back pretty doggone good. Now this dado set hasn't been used much. It's razor sharp. It cuts super easy. I don't know why I call it the scary blade, other than there's just so much mass spinning at such a high speed. I'm just, when things can go bad like that, they could go really bad. But nothing went bad. I'm sure these are used thousands of times a day all over the world. I just haven't used it that much. So I cut all my, ripped all my dados, and I made a few extras to play with. It all went super smooth.
Okay, now I've got a sacrificial fence because I needed to come over, and the dado blade was going to run into my aluminum fence. I didn't want to do that, so I just clamped the board. And I came over, and that sets the depth of the next cut. So that limits how far that way I can go. And then I cranked it up until I got the I got this side correct. They're not exactly the same, so I'm going to cut all of these, which is the good side. And see, it flushes out pretty good. And then I'm going to lower the blade a little bit, because you see that it doesn't fit on the other side. I can only do one side. So, but that's okay. Cuts like super fast. And I only have, let's see, the tops and the bottoms of the doors, and then the two ends of the drawer, which is not cut to length yet. So I'm going to do these first. Okay, same setup. I just lowered the blade a little bit, and I got a fit that I'm happy with. So I'm cut the other half of all of the tendons. Time to put the scary blade away. All right, just bragging here. I did all that ciphering, did the measurements, divided it up, and I took into account the joints. And look at where I fall. I am like 1/16 at the most fat, which is like perfect, because that way I can plane them if something's out of whack. So super proud of myself for these measurements, and the exact same thing over here. Put them all together, I'm running about a 1/16 long. Whew, that's pretty good for me. I gotta start gathering up door panels and planing them down. Okay, it's a new day, Sunday morning. I got my two drawer fronts glued up, ready to trim to size. I've got what I hope is enough material to fill the interior of all the doors, but I think I might be shy a little bit. and I got the second drawer support glued up with its little screw tabs. But before I go any farther, I think I'm gonna take a little time to do a little cleanup, kind of getting out of hand here. So yeah, so next time I turn the camera on, it should be a little neater than it is now. All right, let's prep these panels. I want to rip them to the right width, and then I want to run through the planer, get them the right thickness, and then I'll cut them to length. I should be able to get 2 panels. They're not wide enough. I might have to, and it's okay because this is really bad. So after I cut this side to the right width, I'm gonna have to do another glue. I'm gonna rip this bad spot off, and I need about another 1/2 inch before I can get the other 2 panels out of this side. But this will give me 2 of them to work on. So we're gonna plane them, I'm gonna sand them, I'm gonna put some finish on them before I glue up, because that's the best way to do it. So let's get started. So the first glue up is planed down and it fits. It's kind of snug. Since I'm gonna put some varnish on here before I put it together, I think I'm gonna run it one more pass at just a 1/2 crank. I don't want it to be snug. This wood is so soft that it wouldn't take much to split this little corner off of here. And it's not structural, so if it's a little bit loose, that's okay. So that's another, run it through there, a 1/2 crank, and then we'll cut it to length. First 2 door panels fit, or cut, or finished, and they fit. Awesome, but I'm not gonna glue them in there until I put some varnish on them. So, and I may not put varnish on them until I get the drawers finished. So I'm just gonna set this to the side right now. And I'm gonna start working on the drawers because the other 2 panels weren't wide enough, so I got to glue to make it a little wider, so it'll be a couple hours. It's kind of cool this morning too. Got my 2 drawer fronts cut and with the ends glued on them, and I'm pretty happy with those. Now, for reasons I'll tell you later, I need another layer on the backside to hold up the plywood. And then this is my template for my drawer. It is obviously not super accurate, but basically I measured 8 inches from here to there. That's square because it's going to butt square. It's going to butt square into the back of this drawer front. And it's going to have a 22.5 on this side. So just 8 inches is the measurement. I'm making 4 of them. It's actually 8 inches. And this one's 11 inches with a bevel on both ends. And I'm going to make 4 of them exactly 11 inches. And then the back I'm not going to cut until I put it together with the bottom plywood. So yeah, and I'm using a lot of my scraps. So you see, I got a glue joint on this one. I got a glue joint on this one. Hate to throw the stuff away, 1, and 2, if you laminate them up like that, it actually makes them a little more stable. Actually makes the lumber a little more stable, so I'm not afraid to glue up things. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. All right, so help me out here. The drawer glide is a 1/2 inch thick. That's how they come. It's going to be on top of that shelf, and the drawer is going to be on top of that. So that the top of that 1/2 inch is going to be underneath the drawer bottom. The drawer bottom is, according to my calipers, not a 1/4 inch thick. It's more like 0.21. Quarter would be 0.25. So if I take my 1/2 inch, which is 0.5, the thickness of the plywood, 0.21. So I'm at 0.71. Set the thing here, 0.6, 0.71. When the drawer's finished, the drawer's put together, the bottom of this plywood needs to be this far above the bottom of that platform. Because I got the drawer face centered. I can't measure just off the bottom of the drawer face. I need to measure off the platform. So that's going to be right here, and I got a little hole in that blue tape that I can actually see. So the back half of the drawer is not going to be dadoed. I'm going to have the full 3/4 of an inch here to fasten the plywood to the bottom of, and to fasten the drawer bottom onto the back of that. So all I need to do is rip the bottom that big
and I can go ahead and glue it on the back of the drawer front and move it next door to my wife's studio because I'm fighting temperature issues today. So I'm going to do that and wish me well because this is a big deal.
The back up front is glued to the front. The first one is flush on top. It's an inch on the end, so when I put 3/4 sides, I'll have a little gap, and I'm should be 0.71 or 0.72 from the bottom. That'll allow for the plywood, and then a 1/2 inch for the drawer hardware. So we'll go put this next door and glue the other one. I've got my 2 sets of drawer sides cut and beveled, and the ones in the back are still long because I don't have a good measurement on those. What I'm going to do now is on the inside face, I'm going to plow a joint for the plywood, and the top of that joint will be the same as the bottom of that piece that I glued to the front. It's just 3 1/4 from the top. I'm going to plow it 3/8 of an inch deep, and then I'm going to sand all the inside surfaces while I can get to them easily. And then I'm going to be kind of stuck because I just glued those I just glued the double front, so I don't think I can proceed right now. It's cold, so it may take them a couple hours to set. Did a practice piece and it's just right, so now I need to cut them all. These first ones have rights and lefts because they don't have mirror images on the ends. The rest of them can go either way. So I'm gonna rip them one time. I move the blade over and rip them, and then check and see if it fits the plywood. Okay, 1 coat of varnish on the drawer bottom material and on the door panel materials, both sides. And I'm gonna let this dry tonight and see if the panels need another coat. And I want them to be smooth and finished before I put them together because it's kind of hard to do in the frame. And I took all the drawer inside surfaces and have them sanded because they're impossible to get to. And I took all the door frame materials and sanded this flat edge and rounded this over a little bit with sandpaper. I can do the faces after it's put together. So right now, I am stuck, waiting for glue to dry, waiting for paint to dry. Story of my life. Okay, been away a couple of days. Time to get back at the triangular cabinet. These door panels definitely need another coat before I want to install them. So I'm gonna need to sand them and varnish them, and it's cold and wet today. And unfortunately, my bride is gonna have customers in her studio, so she's not gonna let me stink it up with varnish. So I'm not sure where I'm gonna put them so they can dry, but first world problems. So we're gonna get them sanded and get some varnish on them. And the tops, certainly can put another coat on them. They're not holding me up though, so it's a different situation. Okay, time to see if we can get the drawers put together. First 2 pieces, I think I'll just pocket screw them and glue them. And then I'm gonna have to cut the plywood to the width, slide it in, mark this 22.5 on both sides and cut that plywood. And then I can put these pieces in, which for now will be a glue joint, but I'll try to reinforce them later. Mark the plywood, take it out, cut the plywood, and then I can measure the last piece because it's cut long. Put it in there, and then I think I can use my nylon straps and go all the way around and clamp it tight and let the glue set. It's kind of cold today. I'm not going to push it. And after the fact, I'm going to brace these joints so they won't just be a glue joint. I've had better luck after the fact, maybe with a router, cutting some grooves and putting some little splines in or something. Yeah, so pocket holes first. So when I put the pocket screws in, these 2 sides flared out a little bit. So I got them pulled in square with a clamp so that we get the accurate measurement from groove to groove. I've got it. I'm gonna go cut the plywood. We're gonna slide it into place. Perfect. Now I gotta take this mark and go out at my 22.5 and come out here about 22.5. Not sure how I'm gonna cut that, but I will. And then we'll put the side pieces in and then we'll measure for the back. Okay, that was easy. That's just a 45 degree from the end here. I'm gonna go cut that on a miter saw. I think I can cut it accurately. And then, yeah, then one more cut and we can glue this thing together. Okay, here we go. Let's see, glue here.
I'm gonna glue here. Okay, put this in there. Okay, now I gotta pull this back together. Get my 90 degreesies. Yeah. We need to put glue here. And here. And here. And here. Okay, slap that piece in. All right. And this one, right? Yep.
There was an interesting NPR feature this morning
Yeah.
on bad news and what it does to you. It was really interesting. It said a significant proportion of people have decided they can't handle it. That, you know, there's so much bad news
No more news.
that, yeah. And it talks about how the more you watch it, the more you want to watch it. It's kind of addictive. You know, if something terrible happens and
Yeah, you want to see.
you're on the computer, you tend to go to another terrible thing after that. And then you go back to the original terrible thing. It's weird. It's an addiction. That's a beautiful knit hat. David gave you that, huh? It says
Yeah.
Coast Guard.
Yeah.
When did he give it to you?
Yesterday.
Oh, how nice.
Bling or whatever they call that.
Swag.
Swag. Yeah, swag.
Bling is shiny stuff.
You're right. Okay. Strap hinge. Have these kind of set already.
Picture of you and send it to him.
Okay. Now, stand here. Okay. Good. Here. Here. Let's go forward. Okay, you want to last but not least,
So this is the plywood I'm going to use for the other drawer bottom. It's the same weird thickness. It must be a metric plywood. This one comes with a skid mark on the bottom. So you know what causes that? It's when you're trying to handle a sheet of plywood by yourself on the table saw and it gets away from you. I don't do that anymore. Now I'll just stick my finger in the blade. Okay, I'm going to cut it a little bit smaller, make it more manageable. And I'm starting to put the drawer together, and we're going to go through the same procedure as I did last time, but no film. Okay, drawer number one, the walnut drawer, has been drying for a couple hours. Let's get the clamps off. Let me round these outside corners or clean up the outside surface a little bit and figure out how to brace this joint a little better. And then we will, I'm really anxious to put it in the cabinet and see how it works, or see if it'll fit. So I don't know what this is called, but I routed 3 little keyways on each one of these joints. and I'm going to drop in 3 little pieces of wood, tight fit, glue them and sand them, and I'll be comfortable with that. I think then my drawers will be strong enough. Okay, got a little setback. Drawer number 1 will not go all the way in. I did some miscalculations, and it's hitting these little white braces that holding it up the shelf. So I just need to take it off and put them on the bottom. There's no glue, everything's screwed. So
I spent quite a bit of time here trying to convince myself that this wasn't going to work, but it turned out to be fairly straightforward. I drilled 4 new holes in the drawer hardware, 2 at the very front, 2 at the very back. I had to cut a notch in the back of the drawer so the hardware would lay flat with the plywood. And I put a screw in the very front, which is going into that additional board I put in front, and that's why it was there. And then I squared up with the front of the drawer and put a screw on the back part of the drawer glide. And then I could just slide it into the carcass.
all right, the drawer glides are screwed to the bottom of the drawer. 2 screws front, 2 screws back. They're both falling into wood, not just the plywood, because I have that extra board in the front. And these are they're barely in it, but that's how wide the back is. So I've caught good stuff. So I'm gonna put the slides back on and stick it in the hole. See what happens. If I can slide the drawer out without my shaky hand screwing everything up and get 2 screws in the back of that drawer glide, I think I got it. Then I can just gradually pull it out and put more screws. So let's see. I'm gonna use these little flathead screws, whatever you call these. Super sharp so they go in real easy. Oh heck, this is gonna be easy. Now that I've cut the notch, the back part of the drawer glides can slide into the cabinet completely screwed onto the drawer. So I'll screw to the bottom of the drawer, and I'll get the drawer lined up just right, and I'll slide it out just a smidgen. I'll shoot 2 screws in there. I'll slide out a little more, some more screws. Man, this is cake. This is cake. I don't know what I was worried about. Hey, I got one. Still good. Two. Oh yeah. Check that out. Check that out. That is like as good as I get, buddy. Happy with that. So I can permanently screw these tracks in because the drawer can come off. I need to get some permanent screws for that back because right now there's only a clamp holding it. And a couple of permanent screws to hold the front. And in less than, what, 3 hours I got a drawer put in. Pretty amazing. Okay, so the drawer is resting on the glides, not on the wood structure. And this side looks really good. This side's too high. So I just need to remove that screw, tap that little platform down, not very much, and put a screw back or put another screw next to it. All right, second drawer. I have a pretty good fit, but unfortunately, I don't know why this one's doing it. When I pull the drawer open, the slides go with it, so I can't get a good location of where to fasten the back end of that slide. All crooked. I don't know, maybe I just put a little caulk in there and let it sit overnight. It just needs to hold it good enough where I can pull out the drawer and grab a screw. Yeah, maybe I should have an open tube of caulk. I might just slob some caulk up in there. So my little trick with the caulk worked perfectly. I slid the drawer open this morning and the hardware stayed in place. And I was able to get my 2 screws in there, and so now it's safe. I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of the screws in this drawer. Is done.
This is NPR.
It's 8:04 with Louisiana News. I'm Karen Henderson. The U.S. Senate yesterday confirmed 2 nominations to the federal trial bench in Louisiana. U.S. Attorney in Shreveport to become the first African-American trial judge in the U.S.
So I second guessed myself about the strength of these joints here. Yeah, there's not much wood there, and the wood's really soft, and my fits are not probably up to some kind of standard. I don't know what kind of standard. So I'll put some biscuits, and I'm going to cut them off flush. I think it's going to be fine. I cut the hole smaller than the biscuit size, and that way it fills the whole hole and doesn't leave a little gap. So like this is a number 20 biscuit. If I would have set the tool to cut a number 20 slot, it would have overcut. So I undercut it. I'm gonna trim them with the bandsaw and then belt sand them flat, and just gonna make me feel better, that's all. All right, I've spent some time sanding. I got a coat of varnish to seal the carcass because it kept getting fingerprints, so I want to seal it up. I've sanded the doors flat, and I've made them fit, at least on this cabinet. It takes a steady hand. I use the joiner to gradually get the edges in, and if I need to do a taper, I'll join it halfway and then join it again. Sometimes the belt sander gets the top straight. I think this pair is good to go, almost ready to put the hinges on. I gotta fit the other pair to the other cabinet. I haven't started on them yet. It takes a little while. I'm scared I don't want to overcut anything. Okay, doors number 3 and 4, good to go as far as putting hinges on. Okay, folks, I'm ready to hinge the doors. I went with the European style hinges. I'm probably the last woodworker in the country that's really never messed with these very much because they are full of advantages. Basically, I think there's different manufacturers, but basically they have something in common. You mount the hinge in a hole. You bore a hole, and the hinge thing mounts in there, and it's really strong. You can do this setup on machines. You can have machines bore all your holes, and all your doors come out exactly right. So that's one of the reasons people like them. Another reason is they're so flexible. You can have like an overlay door with different dimensions of overlays, partial twin overlay, insert, that's what I'm having, inset, another overlay, and they have just, this book is like there's 200 different hinge possibilities. You combining the different pieces, parts to do any kind of door, in, out, or whatever. But anyway, I've got these 2 parts. I'm going to use this system here. It took me a while to figure out the little nomenclature, but basically the boring distance B is how far back from the edge of the door the edge of my hole is. The further back the hole, the tighter the, well, no, I'm not on that one. I'm on this one. The further back you drill the hole from the edge, the tighter the gap's going to be between them. So that's the reveal. So with a B, I'm about 6 millimeters, and I'm going to have about 1.5 inches to 1 inch reveal. And I've been practicing on all kind of scrap and stuff, so I'm pretty fairly confident I'm gonna get it right. To do these hinges, you have to have a 32 millimeter hole saw, which for some reason I have. I don't understand that. So maybe I have used them in the past. I don't know. Or maybe somebody gave me it. I don't know. But anyway, all the doors are fitting. So I'm going to mark them and drill all the doors on the back. Or maybe I'll just drill a pair. That'd be smarter. I grabbed a piece of wood out the scrap pile. This is going to be my measurement from the top of the door to the hinge and from the bottom of the door to the hinge. They're all going to be the same. And I've got a board clamped here so it can't move. So all I need to do is hold the door tight to here and get the center of that line right there. And I don't think there's going to be a problem.
From practicing on little scrap boards, I know that I need to drill down until the bottom edge of that black bevel is flush with the door. And that'll be deep enough to get the hinge in and not 1 millimeter deeper, because I'm really close to going all the way through the door. It's kind of scary.
Close. This is so close to poking through, but it didn't. Okay, let's do the other one.
Okay, this is gut wrenching. I dropped the hinges in the hole and put the screws in, and the screws didn't go through and the hinges didn't go through. So now I need to put this on the jamb, get it the right height, and screw the back half to the cabinet. And I'm sure you can do this without the door in place, because I can't imagine having to do this with a regular cabinet, but I can get to the back of these, so I don't know, I'll have to scratch my head on this. All right, so all 8 holes of board, all 8 hinges are screwed to the back of the doors. There really was no problem. It's just so close to coming. It's so close to drilling all the way through. It's so close to coming out of this edge. Probably could have made these stiles a little bit wider, but no, it's good. We're good. So now I need to screw the other half of the hinge to the carcass. Got the door set where I want it. I got it kind of clamped here. Got a couple of wedges. I got a nice reveal here. So actually the hinges have a tab. You're not gonna be able to see it, but there's a hook. There's a hook right there, and if you hook the edge of the door, that gives you a reveal. So I think I'm just ready to screw it. I don't know how many screws he gave me. I don't know whether you put 1 screw in the middle. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna get my shaky hands and see if I can get a screw in the right place. Would you look at that? Is that not the coolest thing ever? That is just one cool hinge. And it's got some adjustments on it. I don't know what the adjustments do. Probably closing force. Oh man. I think this is going to be easy. I know why everybody uses these dang things now. They're not cheap though. Okay, 3 more doors to go. So my doors are hitting in the middle. The top almost clears. The bottom needs more. So I've got to plane some. So watch this. This is also pretty dang cool. Ta-da! I'm going to go plane it and bring it back and clip it back on. Check it out. There's been times in the past, or lots of times. Of course, this is funny looking. This doesn't have varnish on it yet, so don't get distracted. There's been times when I didn't think I could do nice work anymore. I made so many mistakes. My hands shake. I had just about given up on woodworking. I'm glad I didn't, because I think these are going to be pretty darn nice. Door hardware installed. This is some hardware we had. May or may not change it in the future. And same on this one, and on this one, this is where the silverware is going to go, so I'll put some partitions. I'm ready to take it apart and take the hardware off and varnish it. And it's finished. Well, I think it'll be finished. Ready for varnish. Kind of cloudy today. It'll probably dry really slow, but we'll go for it anyway.
And just like that, they are sanded, varnished, and installed. I sanded to 180, varnish, sanded to 180, and put 2 more coats of varnish. This one went in like pretty much perfectly. Did the pocket holes into the baseboard. It sucked it up tight. And I don't know if we can see, I put a couple of screws from that plywood through to catch a stud. So it's absolutely fixed. Ooh, shh. I need to put some dampers on those. And we've got silverware drawer. This was awesome. This one, somebody came in and moved the walls around while I was building it, because you saw in the last video, I had it fitting. It fit pretty good. And we brought it in, it didn't fit too good. So we had to cut the bottom shelf a little bit to get it tighter to the wall on the right. And that meant the plywood shelf support was sticking out too far. So we had to cut that back. And that meant this drawer structure, that plywood that holds up the drawer, was too long. So we had to cut that. That meant we had to take the drawer glides off. And that meant the drawer actually was too long to fit in there, so I had to put the drawer on the joiner planer and shave off about 1/8 of an inch. So yeah, I don't know why this stuff happens to me, but thankfully David was here, and he's pretty good with tools, so we got it in here. So the bride is super happy. I think they came out well. And the corner drawers, I think, are very cool. Okay, thanks for watching.